Picture this, two titans who've torn each other apart for over a decade, suddenly standing side by side with murder in their eyes. The Beast Incarnate and the Tribal Chief, bitter enemies who've headlined WrestleManias and left each other broken, now united with one terrifying purpose: to destroy Seth Rollins. This isn't just another wrestling storyline. This is the most shocking alliance in WWE history, born from betrayal, revenge, and a cash-in that changed everything. What happened at SummerSlam 2025 was so devastating, so personal, that it forced these two gladiators to do the unthinkable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this partnership could either save WWE or tear it apart completely. The answer lies in one man's ultimate betrayal and the chaos that followed. Welcome back to the most explosive breakdown you'll see today. I'm diving deep into the seismic shift that rocked WWE to its core at SummerSlam 2025. Over 2 nights at MetLife Stadium, we witnessed something unprecedented, a betrayal so calculated, so devastating, that it united WWE's two most dominant forces against a common enemy. Seth Rollins didn't just cash in his Money in the Bank contract, he orchestrated what he calls the ruse of the century, stealing the World Heavyweight Championship and aligning himself with the most dangerous faction WWE has seen in years. But here's where it gets interesting, and why you need to stick around for every detail. Brock Lesnar's shocking return after 2 years wasn't random. Roman Reigns' calculated moves on Raw weren't coincidental. Paul Heyman's double dealing isn't just business as usual. Everything is connected, and I've uncovered the real reason why these former enemies are now brothers in arms. We're talking about a partnership that could redefine WWE's power structure, with implications that stretch far beyond the World Heavyweight Championship. Today, I'm breaking down the complete timeline, the hidden motivations, and the explosive confrontations that led to this historic alliance. You'll discover the psychological warfare behind Rollins' master plan, the strategic brilliance of Lesnar's return, and why Roman Reigns sees this partnership as his path back to the head of the table. Plus, I'll reveal exclusive insights about what's coming next and why this feud could be the most important storyline WWE has produced in the modern era. Here's something most people missed about Seth Rollins' cash-in at SummerSlam: this wasn't a spontaneous decision. This was a masterclass in psychological manipulation that took months to orchestrate. Let me paint you the complete picture of how Rollins pulled off what he's calling the ruse of the century. The night began with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso dismantling Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in what seemed like a standard tag team match. But this victory was crucial. It established Reigns as a legitimate threat again, someone who could challenge the established order. The crowd was electric, believing they were witnessing the Tribal Chief's triumphant return to form. Little did they know, this was just the opening act of a much larger drama. Then came the main event, Gunther vs. CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. For 30 minutes, these two warriors put on a clinic that reminded everyone why they're considered among the best in the world. Punk, hungry after more than a decade without World Championship gold, fought with the desperation of a man who knew this might be his last chance. When he finally connected with those two GTS finishers and pinned Gunther, the emotional release was palpable. Fans were crying, Punk was crying, it was a perfect wrestling moment. But Seth Rollins was watching from the shadows, and he saw opportunity where others saw celebration. Here's the genius of his plan. For weeks, Rollins had been playing up a knee injury, appearing on crutches, wearing a brace, convincing everyone, including WWE management, that he was months away from being cleared to compete. Medical reports, social media posts, even backstage interviews all supported this narrative. He was the wounded warrior, the Money in the Bank holder who couldn't capitalize on his opportunity. The moment Punk's music hit and the celebration began, Rollins made his move. But here's what made it so devastating: he didn't just cash in his contract. He revealed that everything, every limp, every wince of pain, every medical update, had been an elaborate deception. When he threw off those crutches and sprinted to the ring with the speed and agility of a man in perfect health, the psychological impact was immediate and brutal. Think about it from Punk's perspective. You've just achieved your greatest comeback, overcome a dominant champion, and proven that you still belong at the top of the industry. You're having the greatest moment of your career in years, and suddenly, reality crashes down. Not only are you losing the championship you just won, but you're losing it to someone who's been lying to your face for months. The briefcase shot, the stomp, the 3 count, these were just the physical components of Rollins' assault. The real damage was psychological. He didn't just steal Punk's championship, he stole his moment, his validation, his proof that the comeback was real. And when Rollins celebrated with Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, it became clear that this wasn't just opportunism, this was the revelation of a conspiracy that had been building for months. This betrayal would have consequences that Rollins couldn't have anticipated, setting in motion the events that would eventually unite his greatest enemies against him. Brock Lesnar's return at SummerSlam wasn't just a surprise, it was a declaration of war that had been 2 years in the making. To understand the true impact of this moment, you need to know what Lesnar has been doing since his last WWE appearance at SummerSlam 2023 and why his target wasn't random. When the arena went dark after Cody Rhodes' emotional victory over John Cena, the WWE Universe expected a celebration. Cena was having his farewell moment, passing the torch to Rhodes in what seemed like a perfect ending to a legendary career. The embrace, the mutual respect, the crowd's appreciation, it was everything a wrestling fan could want from such a significant moment. But Lesnar saw something different. He saw vulnerability. He saw symbols of an era that he believes has held him back. Most importantly, he saw an opportunity to send a message that would reverberate throughout the entire WWE roster. The F5 that leveled John Cena wasn't just an attack, it was a statement that the old guard's time was over and that Lesnar was back to reclaim his position as the most dominant force in professional wrestling. Here's what makes Lesnar's return so strategically brilliant. He's been watching WWE from the outside for 2 years, studying the landscape, identifying the power players, and planning his comeback with the precision of a military operation. During his absence, he witnessed Seth Rollins' rise to prominence, saw how Rollins manipulated situations to his advantage, and recognized a kindred spirit, someone who, like Lesnar himself, was willing to do whatever it took to stay on top. But there's a crucial difference between Lesnar and Rollins that makes their eventual conflict inevitable. Lesnar's dominance has always been based on raw, undeniable physical superiority. When he destroys opponents, it's through legitimate athletic dominance that no one can question. Rollins, on the other hand, has built his recent success on deception, manipulation, and political maneuvering. To Lesnar, this represents everything wrong with modern WWE, a place where cunning and backstage politics matter more than pure competitive excellence. The attack on Cena served multiple purposes in Lesnar's grand strategy. First, it established that he was back at full strength and ready to dominate anyone, regardless of their legendary status. Second, it sent a clear message to Seth Rollins that if Lesnar was willing to destroy a beloved figure like Cena, no one was safe from his wrath. Third, it demonstrated to Roman Reigns that they shared a common enemy in the new power structure that Rollins was building. What most people don't realize is that Lesnar's return was coordinated with intelligence he'd been gathering about Rollins' faction. Paul Heyman, playing multiple sides as always, had been feeding Lesnar information about Rollins' plans, Braun Breaker's ambitions, and Bronson Reed's role in the new hierarchy. Lesnar knew that a direct assault on Rollins would be expected, but by targeting Cena first, he created chaos and uncertainty that would make his eventual partnership with Roman Reigns seem like a natural evolution rather than a desperate alliance. The Beast Incarnate wasn't just back, he was back with a plan that would reshape WWE's entire power structure. Roman Reigns' actions following SummerSlam reveal a level of strategic thinking that proves why he's called the Tribal Chief. While everyone was focused on Seth Rollins' championship celebration and Brock Lesnar's shocking return, Reigns was quietly positioning himself as the most important piece on WWE's chessboard. His moves on Raw weren't just reactive, They were part of a carefully calculated plan to reclaim his position at the head of the table. Let's analyze what really happened on that crucial Raw episode. When Seth Rollins took center stage to gloat about his ruse of the century, he made a critical error. He revealed the full extent of his arrogance and his belief that he was untouchable. Rollins didn't just mock CM Punk, he mocked the entire WWE universe, dismissing their intelligence and their emotional investment in the product. This wasn't just heel behavior, this was a man drunk on his own perceived brilliance, making enemies of everyone who might have otherwise remained neutral. LA Knight's interruption and the subsequent main event match created the perfect opportunity for Reigns to make his statement. But here's what made his intervention so strategically brilliant. He didn't just make a save. He made a choice. When CM Punk was being overwhelmed by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, Reigns could have stayed backstage. He could have let his enemies destroy each other. Instead, he chose to align himself with the victim of Rollins' betrayal, immediately positioning himself as the moral authority in this conflict. The Superman punch and spear that cleared the ring weren't just signature moves, they were declarations that Roman Reigns was back to being the protector, the tribal chief who looks after his people. By saving Punk and Knight, he demonstrated that his return wasn't about personal glory but about restoring order to a WWE that had been corrupted by Rollins' manipulation and deception. But the most crucial moment came when Reigns stared down Rollins in the ring. This wasn't just intimidation, this was Reigns letting Rollins know that he remembered WrestleMania 31. He remembered how Rollins had stolen the WWE Championship from both him and Brock Lesnar in what was then called the heist of the century. The parallel to SummerSlam 2025 was unmistakable, and Reigns was making it clear that history wouldn't repeat itself without consequences. When Brock Lesnar's music hit and the two former enemies found themselves face to face, the WWE Universe witnessed something unprecedented. These weren't two men being forced together by circumstance, these were two apex predators recognizing that they shared a common threat that was bigger than their personal rivalry. The respect in their eyes, the understanding that passed between them, the unspoken agreement that their war could wait while they dealt with a more pressing enemy, it was a masterclass in nonverbal storytelling. Reigns' strategy is brilliant because it serves multiple purposes simultaneously. He's positioning himself as the moral center of WWE, the man who stands up for what's right. He's aligning himself with the most dominant force in wrestling history in Brock Lesnar. And he's setting up his eventual reclamation of the championship in a way that will feel earned rather than opportunistic. The tribal chief isn't just back, he's back with a plan that could restore him to the throne he never should have lost. Paul Heyman's role in this entire saga is the most fascinating and complex element of the story, and understanding his motivations is crucial to predicting how this alliance will ultimately play out. Heyman isn't just managing talent, he's orchestrating a chess match where he's simultaneously playing multiple sides, and his endgame might be more sophisticated than anyone realizes. Let's start with what we know for certain. Heyman has managed both Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at different points in their careers, building intimate relationships with both men that go far beyond typical manager-wrestler dynamics. With Lesnar, Heyman was the voice that transformed a legitimate athletic freak into a larger-than-life character who could carry WWE's biggest storylines. With Reigns, he was the advocate who helped the tribal chief reach new levels of character development and storytelling sophistication. But here's where it gets complicated. Heyman's betrayal of CM Punk at WrestleMania 41, where he sided with Seth Rollins, seemed to indicate a complete shift in his loyalties. The wrestling world assumed that Heyman had found a new meal ticket in Rollins and was abandoning his previous relationships for the promise of continued relevance in WWE's evolving landscape. This interpretation, however, might be exactly what Heyman wanted people to believe. Consider the possibility that Heyman's alliance with Rollins was never genuine but rather a long-term infiltration strategy designed to gather intelligence and position himself for maximum leverage when the time was right. Heyman has always been a master manipulator who thinks several moves ahead of everyone else. His association with Rollins gave him inside access to the faction's plans, their weaknesses, and their overconfidence, information that would be invaluable to anyone planning to take them down. The evidence for this theory is compelling. Heyman's behavior during Rollins' championship celebration was notably subdued compared to his usual enthusiastic advocacy. His body language suggested someone going through the motions rather than someone genuinely excited about his client's success. More tellingly, reports from backstage sources suggest that Heyman has been in contact with both Lesnar and Reigns throughout this period, maintaining relationships that would be impossible if his loyalty to Rollins were genuine. Heyman's ultimate strategy appears to be positioning himself as the architect of Rollins' downfall while simultaneously engineering the reunion of the two most dominant forces he's ever managed. By playing the long game, he's created a scenario where he can claim credit for both building up the threat and orchestrating its destruction. This isn't just business, this is Heyman cementing his legacy as the greatest wrestling mind of his generation. The genius of this approach is that it serves everyone's interests except Rollins. Lesnar gets his revenge and reestablishes his dominance. Reigns reclaims his position at the head of the table. Heyman proves his indispensability to WWE's biggest stars. And the WWE Universe gets the most compelling storyline in years, built on genuine emotion, legitimate grievances, and the kind of long-term storytelling that creates legendary moments. But there's a risk to Heyman's strategy. If either Lesnar or Reigns discovers the full extent of his manipulation, the alliance could crumble, and Heyman could find himself without any allies in a very dangerous situation. As we look toward Clash in Paris on August 31st, 2025, the pieces are falling into place for what could be the most significant wrestling event of the year. The alliance between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns isn't just a temporary partnership. It's the foundation for a storyline that will reshape WWE's landscape through WrestleMania season and beyond. Triple H's booking strategy for this feud is masterful in its complexity and long-term vision. Rather than rushing into a simple good versus evil narrative, he's creating a multi-layered conflict where every participant has legitimate motivations and compelling reasons for their actions. Seth Rollins isn't just a generic heel champion. He's a man who believes his intelligence and strategic thinking make him superior to the brute force approach of his opponents. Lesnar and Reigns aren't just seeking revenge, they're fighting to restore a meritocracy where dominance is earned through competition rather than manipulation. The rumored six-man tag team match for Clash in Paris, Lesnar and Reigns with a mystery partner versus Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, represents more than just a wrestling match. It's a philosophical battle between two different visions of what WWE should be. Rollins' faction represents the new school approach where cunning, politics, and strategic alliances matter more than pure athletic ability. Lesnar and Reigns represent the old school mentality where respect is earned through dominance and championships are won through superior performance rather than opportunistic cash-ins. The identity of that mystery third partner is crucial to understanding how this storyline will develop. CM Punk is the obvious choice, given his personal vendetta against Rollins for stealing his championship moment. But there's also the possibility of John Cena seeking revenge for Lesnar's attack, which would add another layer of complexity to an already intricate narrative. Some backstage reports even suggest that The Rock could make a surprise appearance, aligning with his cousin Roman Reigns in a move that would break the internet and set up massive storylines for WrestleMania season. What makes this feud so compelling is that it's built on legitimate grievances rather than manufactured drama. Every participant has been genuinely wronged or has legitimate reasons for their actions. Rollins' betrayal of Punk was real and devastating. Lesnar's 2-year absence created genuine anticipation for his return. Reigns' quest to reclaim his position at the head of the table feels earned after his dominant reign was ended through circumstances beyond his control. The psychological warfare aspect of this feud is equally important. Rollins believes his intelligence makes him untouchable, but he's never faced the combined strategic minds of Paul Heyman, the raw power of Brock Lesnar, and the political acumen of Roman Reigns working in concert. His overconfidence, which served him well in executing his SummerSlam plan, could become his greatest weakness when facing opponents who are equally intelligent but far more experienced in high-stakes warfare. Looking beyond Clash in Paris, this storyline has the potential to carry WWE through the Royal Rumble and into WrestleMania season. The eventual breakdown of the Lesnar-Reigns alliance is inevitable. These are two alpha males who can't coexist indefinitely. But the question of when and how that breakdown occurs will determine the shape of WWE's biggest storylines for the next year. Will they successfully destroy Rollins' faction first, or will their partnership implode before they can achieve their goal? The stakes couldn't be higher, and that's what makes this storyline so compelling. This isn't just about championships or personal vendettas, it's about the future direction of WWE and which philosophy will ultimately prevail in professional wrestling's most important company. So there you have it, the complete breakdown of how a single night of betrayal created the most unlikely and dangerous alliance in WWE history. Seth Rollins' ruse of the century didn't just steal a championship, it awakened two sleeping giants who now have him in their crosshairs. Brock Lesnar's calculated return, Roman Reigns' strategic positioning, and Paul Heyman's masterful manipulation have created a perfect storm that could either elevate WWE to new heights or tear it apart completely. The beauty of this storyline is that everyone involved has legitimate motivations and compelling reasons for their actions. There are no clear heroes or villains, just complex characters pursuing their own versions of justice and dominance. As we head toward Clash in Paris and beyond, remember that this is just the beginning. The alliance between Lesnar and Reigns is fragile, built on mutual respect but destined for eventual conflict. The question isn't if they'll turn on each other, but when, and whether they'll destroy Rollins' faction before they destroy each other. This is the kind of long-term storytelling that creates legendary moments and defines eras in professional wrestling. We're witnessing history in the making, and the best is yet to come. What do you think will happen at Clash in Paris? Will the Lesnar-Reigns alliance hold together long enough to destroy Seth Rollins, or will their partnership implode before they can achieve their goal? And who do you think the mystery third partner will be? CM Punk seeking revenge, John Cena looking for payback, or someone completely unexpected? Drop your predictions in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing your theories about where this storyline is heading. If this breakdown helped you understand the complexity of this incredible storyline, smash that like button and subscribe for more in-depth WWE analysis. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest videos, and check out our playlist of SummerSlam 2025 coverage for even more exclusive insights. In the next video, I'll be breaking down the potential matches for Royal Rumble and analyzing how this feud could shape WrestleMania season. Until then, acknowledge your tribal chief, respect the beast, and never trust a man with a money-in-the-bank briefcase. See you in the next video.